Welcome to another book haul. This is the biggest one yet. So which stack should I tackle first? How about this one? This is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. This seems to be the new hot book that everyone's getting their hands on. And it looks like it's about our female main character who is a teacher's aide and forms a loving bond with one of her students. She also really likes a book series, and it turns out that the author of that book series is opening up a competition for a chance to win the only copy of his new book. This book is categorized in the contemporary women fiction, but I think there's some magical realism in it too. I'll be honest, it doesn't sound interesting. I'll be the one playing the wishing game, wishing for this book to be good. But people seem to really like this book. So what am I if I'm not without FOMO? Plus the cover is cute, so it was easier to buy. Okay, next. I actually want to keep them in order of where I bought them from. Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Ali's first paranormal book. She's a vampire, he's a werewolf. There's a marriage of convenience with a touch of Romeo and Juliet-esque plotline. I'm intrigued, and I've been hearing that this book is Omegaverse, and when I first heard that word, I thought it just meant that it's a fantasy novel. It does not. Wikipedia says that Omegaverse is a subgenre of speculative erotic fiction and typically focuses on wolf behavior in humans, especially as it pertains to sexual intercourse. And then it goes on to the very specifics of that. But for our purposes, Omegaverse is basically wolf smut. Can't wait! Please don't fall. Okay, it didn't fall. Great. From this Amazon package, we have The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This is an urban fantasy fiction novel that has romance and LGBTQ representation. This is on a bunch of bestseller lists and has been talked about everywhere. Cerulean just means deep blue in color, so the title is basically House in the Deep Blue Sea. Down here in the deep blue sea. Yeah. This novel tells a story about a 40-year-old caseworker at the Department of Magical Youth. One day he is assigned to manage an orphanage that has a reputation of 6 dangerous children. Of course he's not gonna want to go. It is also now book 1 in the Cerulean Chronicles, with book 2 coming out later this year. Next, we have Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. This is book 2 in the Knock 'Em Out series. In book 1, we have Knox and Naomi, and in this book we have Knox's brother Nash, who is the chief of police. Apparently he gets shot and gets panic attacks, and then in moves his next door neighbor Lena, who is of course smart and sexy but also has a huge secret. I thought book 1 was not bad, and I think this would make a good palate cleanser, hopefully. That's that. Next, I want to do... Okay, let's move this back. I gotta finish up the Amazon stuff. We have... didn't open this yet. Guess what I ordered? Please, I don't want to cut the book either. Okay. Ooh, how pretty! Ooh. Out you go. Get out! Oh. Okay. Whew. We have the very famous The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. I bought the whole set, which includes all 6, plus a guide to becoming a shadow hunter, I think? Whatever this codex thing is. I initially bought the Infernal Devices series with the intention of reading that first, thinking it'd be okay. It's still okay, but I just hope I like this series. So this series is about a teenage girl who witnesses a murder committed by a group of teens armed with medieval weaponry. So I'm going to be reading these 3 first, I believe is what you're supposed to do. And then read the Infernal Devices series, and then read the rest of the 3 here. And then I guess I could read How to Be a Shadow Hunter after I go through all that. Oh, I love the spines. Next, The Bride Test by Helen Huang. If this author sounds very familiar to you, it's because she wrote The Kiss Quotient, which went very viral, but I did not like. I actually DNF'd that book. So here's the second chances. In this book, our male main character has autism, which causes him to be particular about certain things, including not being able to feel emotions like love, which makes him think that there's something wrong with him. Aww. So his mom goes to Vietnam, meets a local girl, and convinces her to come to America to seduce her son and marry him. Next, The Heart Principle by Helen Huang again, which reading the synopsis, I'm not totally sold on. Basically, her boyfriend decides that he wants an open relationship, so she agrees and decides to go on a bunch of one-night stands. I feel like if I don't like the premise of the book, I won't like the story itself, but it was a set, so we'll give it a try. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Who in the book community has not heard of Fourth Wing? Exactly. No one. Do I even need to tell you what this book is about? Okay, yeah, I still should. So it looks like our female main character enters a competition where hundreds of candidates compete to become a dragon rider, but she's smaller than most, can relate, and just looks like she doesn't have a chance at winning. that's basically all I know about this book. I have avoided anything that would give anything away about this book. And I just want to know why it's called Fourth Wing. Does her dragon have 4 wings? Do normal dragons have 3 wings and hers has a 4th? Or is it wing meaning place, like a hospital wing? All those questions will soon be answered. For those of you who read the book, I know you're probably laughing at my questions or just like dying to tell me what the answer is. Or both. Sorry. Okay, wrapping up our Amazon purchases, I'm gonna be doing some pretty cloth-bound classics from Charles Dickens. I bought a whole set of Charles Dickens. So first up we have Oliver Twist, which is Dickens' second novel. It's set in London where a young orphan boy joins a group of juvenile pickpockets, all of whom are led by an elderly criminal. But do you know what I think of when I hear Oliver Twist? Rory and Jess's banter on Gilmore Girls. Well, in chronological order from my stack, the next book is gonna be A Christmas Carol and Other Christmas Writings. I have always heard this book around Christmas time, but I don't truly know the full story, so I'm looking forward to filling in the gaps. Fast forward 14 years later, and now we have Bleak House. I feel like this will be the most difficult read for me because this book has a lot of characters and multiple subplots. I'm just hoping I can keep up with it all. To be honest, I'll probably have to do some sort of video challenge to get me to read this book. Please let me know if you have any video suggestions for me to read this book. Next we have Hard Times, which was written right after Bleak House. This is Dickens' shortest novel, obviously excluding the novellas. And this book looks at English society and kind of satirizes the social and economic conditions of the era. Are you noticing a theme here? Yes, Charles Dickens grew up poor and he shed a lot of light on the poorer side of society. Next, we have A Tale of Two Cities. The two cities being London and Paris. It's about a French doctor who is released from imprisonment and goes to live with his daughter. And I think this is Dickens' best-selling novel out of all of them. Finally, we have Great Expectations. I bought this set because I wanted this book, Oliver Twist, and A Christmas Carol. And because of that, now I have to at least attempt to read Bleak House. Which sounds so bleak. Font is so small, my gosh. Okay, I'm gonna move on to Barnes and Noble. This is Elena Knows by Claudia Pinheiro. This is a short book that touches on mother-daughter relationships. Moving on to Happy Place by Emily Henry. Guess where I got this book from? Costco. Who would have thunk? Does anyone buy books from Costco? Please let me know. Because sometimes it's cheaper than Amazon. Not always, but sometimes. I got this for $1 cheaper than Amazon. It's over $1 cheaper. And I checked out at the self-checkout because I didn't want the cashier to handle the book the way I wouldn't. Thank you to the illustrator for always giving us the best book covers with the spine. We're gonna move on to half-price books. This is Catherine Center's The Bodyguard. He's a celebrity, she's the bodyguard. I love that. Plus, they also have to fake date so that his mom doesn't know that he needs protection. I love that even more. I can't wait to read this, and I hope she kicks some butt. This is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. I got super lucky and got the exclusive Barnes & Noble special edition. Look how pretty, it's all rainbow-like and pretty. If this sounds familiar to you, it's because yes, this book was indeed inspired by Charles Dickens' David Copperfield, which I would have rather been included in my box set instead of Bleak House. Okay, I'll stop bashing Bleak House. So the main character, Demon, imagine growing up with that as your first name. His mom gave birth to him when she was a teenager, so he lives through foster care, child labor, and is just basically having a hard time growing up. I do know that you don't have to read David Copperfield as a prerequisite in order to understand this book. Next, we have Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. She's addicted to sex, he's addicted to booze. How the heck two people can write one novel? I'd surely refuse. I know this sounds like the perfect setup for a toxic relationship. I really did not like Magnolia Parks, so I'm hoping this is better. Moving on to the books I bought in Seattle. There is a bookstore in Seattle called Twice Sold Tales, and they just have cats roaming around the store. How cute! I kind of was worried that it might smell or I'd be sneezing every 30 seconds, but the air quality was actually pretty good and better than I expected, and of course the cats were super adorable. So there, I got The Personal Librarian by Marie Benedict and Victoria Christopher Murray. This is about a black woman working for JP Morgan as a personal librarian, and she was forced to hide her true identity to pass as a white person in order to do her job well. From that same bookstore, I got 1984 by George Orwell. I was ecstatic, over the moon when I found this copy. I really do not like the other version with the other cover of the the blue eye. No, this is what I was looking for. And when I actually checked out at the cashier, he was saying how other people were looking for this specific cover, so I felt super lucky to be able to purchase it. But for the most part, this book is about thought police maintaining hyper-vigilant control over the people, and our main character just so happens to have a well-functioning memory, which poses a threat. So if you're in Seattle, I encourage you to check out this bookstore. It was so fun to peruse through, but don't touch the cats if they're sleeping. Next. Then I went to Mercer Street, Mercer Street Books, where I bought this book, Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. I am ashamed to say that I have not yet read this book yet. And anytime someone makes a reference to this book saying, oh, it's a Catch-22, I know what they mean, meaning that it's a difficult decision, but I don't know the story behind it. So, in preparation for this video, I found out what Catch-22 is. And it's basically a rule stating that a man is considered insane if he flies in dangerous combat missions, but if he requests to be removed from duty, he is sane and therefore not eligible to be removed from duty. And that, my friends, is the epitome of what the F? You can see it's like there's no winning in this situation. Next, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. If I can get a classic book in a classic format, I will. I've watched the Keira Knightley version of Pride and Prejudice, and I have heard that people tend to like the movie better than the book because the book is kind of slow, at least to begin with, but I would still like to read all that is Mr. Darcy. If you don't know, this is one of the OG enemies to lovers romance. Moving more towards the 21st century, I got myself A Man Called Ovi. Well, the book. I didn't actually get A Man Called Ovi. My man is called Moon. Well, the shortened version of his name is called Moon anyway. Anyways, this novel is by Frederick Beckman, and it follows Ovi, who people think is a very bitter old man. This book is supposed to be funny and heartwarming. This kind of reminds me of Up or A Christmas Carol, you know, like Scrooge. Another novel by Frederick Beckman, Beartown. Frederick Beckman is the author of another popular book, Anxious People. I'm sure you guys have seen Anxious People too, but I haven't read that yet. But back to Beartown. This has a close-knit town, a junior ice hockey team, a violent act that leaves the town in turmoil, but with all of that, there's loyalty, commitment, and responsibilities of friendship. Sounds to me like I might cry. Moving on to a couple of books that I haven't introduced you to yet, but I bought in Korea. Welcome to Hyunam-dong Bookshop by Hwang Bodum. I bought this without knowing anything about it. Guess why? Just take a wild guess. Yes, of course, the book cover. The main character pretty much quits everything in her life to open up a bookshop, and there she forms bonds with the regulars and workers. I have actually since read this book. It was cozy, but I didn't agree with the main character on a few things, so it just kind of annoyed me just a little. But if you like cozy bookshop vibes as a book, I think this might be a nice one. Please Look After Mom by Kyung-suk Shin. I hate this cover. I actually can't even tell if I hate this cover more because it looks like it could be the cover for The Grudge, or if I hate half-naked men on the covers more. Actually, I think I hate this more. It shows the contemporary life of family in Korea. This book is very highly regarded, but in hindsight, I should not have bought this book. It sounds like I won't be into it. I only bought it because it was like $5 cheaper than you would get in America. So I should learn to make better choices when buying books. Moving on to Book Outlet. Book Outlet secures the books really well. Yay! Okay, here. Okay, since I just talked about it, I'll do The Winners by Frederick Bachman, which is the third book in the Beartown series. The second book is in this box here. I usually don't like to read the synopsis of books later on if it's in a series, so in case, you know, something gets spoiled for me. So just know that I've heard great things about this, and this is the thickest book out of the three. Yeah. My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. This book is exactly what the title says and the cover shows. She moves in with a guy because the rent is super cheap, but she begins to believe that he's an actual vampire, which I actually think he is. Living with Edward Cullen for a cheap price? Where do I sign the lease? House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig. Ah, darn it, it's kind of damaged just a little. Oh my gosh, is this $6.99 like on the... This is not even a sticker. What the heck? Oh, that's so gross. Why would you do that? What kind of company sells it like that? Anyways, this is book one of the Sisters of Salt series. It's a dark young adult fantasy romance. And because I'm oh so very logical, I bought the second book, House of Roots and Ruin. Oh no, so this is a paperback and this is a hardback. Did I really do that? Darn it. Oh well. Can someone please tell me if you read this series and you like the series? Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. This is always something I've been wanting to read, so when I saw it for cheaper on Book Outlet, I jumped at it. You guys know, this is a self-help book that explains how systems in our minds work. So he offers practical and hopefully enlightening insights on how our choices are made so that we can best make them. I should have probably read this book before I bought the books to a bunch of series that I haven't read the first book in, you know, stuff like this. The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling, our female main character, breaks up with her boyfriend, puts a curse on him thinking it'll just give him a couple of bad days. Fast forward to the present and it turns out that the curse has constantly been at his side. Well, sounds like she should have been reading Thinking Fast and Slow. Last one in this box is going to be This Woven Kingdom by Tahereh Mafi. Yes, this is the same Tahereh Mafi that wrote the Shatter Me series. I love the Shatter Me series so far, so I'm really excited for this one. This is a romantic trilogy inspired by Persian mythology. If it's anything like the Shatter Me series, I'm sure I'll love it. In this series, it looks like our main character is serving as a servant, but is actually really a long-lost heir that poses a threat to the current crown prince and the king. That sounds like a lot of fun. Moving on to the next box. This is also from Book Outlet. From this box, I'm gonna start off with These Infinite Threads by Tahereh Mafi. Yes, this is book 2 following This Woven Kingdom. Again, I won't be giving you a synopsis of any series. Ooh! The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is book 1. I bought book 3 in my last haul, but I also bought book 2, The Hawthorne Legacy, in this haul as well. She has to play the game against the man's actual 4 grandsons. Love Pentagon? One can only hope. Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Meher. Even villains need assistance. Being evil is probably very hard work, but apparently our main character develops a crush on our villain and tries to help him against someone who wants to take down the villain. Oh, what we do for love. Next. Ooh, I have a hard copy of The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik. This is the second book in the Sholoman series. I will be buying the first book, don't worry, The Deadly Education. But this is a science fiction and fantasy novel. It looks like our main character goes to a school of magic, so yes, I'm thinking Harry Potter vibes. And the enemy is, I'm sure, a guy, so I'm assuming that there's going to be a love interest later there. Loath to Love You by Ali Hazelwood. I have been waiting to read this one. So this actually has 3 different novellas on here. Under One Roof, Stuck With You, and Below Zero. So in Under One Roof, our female main character is an environmental engineer. In Stuck With You, she is a civil engineer. And in Below Zero, she is a NASA aerospace engineer. And that's kind of all the convincing I need to read it, really. Next, These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This book intrigues me. I have heard mixed reviews. This book is set in Shanghai and in the year 1926. And there are 2 gangs, one of which our female main character is the heir to. And guess who's the heir to the other gang? So I'm guessing Romeo and Juliet, but set in Shanghai. Just please don't have the Romeo and Juliet ending. But seeing as there's a second book, Our Violent Ends. But of course the Romeo and Juliet ending can come in the second book. Gosh darn. Oh, this is a signed edition? What the heck? Really? Oh, how cool. Okay, this makes me feel a little bit better about the book. Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. This is book 1 in the Throne of Glass series. I haven't even read Akatar, so don't ask me why I bought this book. Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. This is the creator of Nike. I thought that it might be interesting. I also know it's pretty popular. Moon actually has the Korean translated version of this book. And I guess Phil Knight started selling shoes from the trunk of his car. And that's how he got his start. Next, Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. I am probably going to save this read towards the end of the year. I'm very prepared. What can I tell you? This was the last of the books in this book haul. People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I don't know if I showed you this one yet or not. But I bought this at Target. This one, I know is kind of the least favorite out of all the Emily Henry books, but I still want to read it, give it a chance. I believe I showed you over 50, and I cannot wait to read them all. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!